Dun 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 ba ba
Ba-da-da. Yeah. Hey everybody, this is Nathan P. Butler bringing you a brand new visual showcase episode here for the EU Reviews Facebook page. This is not really what I wanted to talk about, but a lot of people have been asking to see it once they knew that I had it. This is a Star Wars Celebration 1 Darth Maul, I guess you call it a letter jacket, is sort of the style of what they were going for here. Sort of the different cloth feels between the leather, or the faux leather as far as I know, and the other stuff here, like you would find on a letter jacket. I used to wear this thing all over the place. I mean, it was the warmest coat that I had, and that included wearing it to work. So khakis, button-down shirt, tie, and ba-ba-ba, which really tended to get the kids kind of interested in it, saying, what is this, you know? And at the same time, it caused a lot of older individuals who didn't know much about Star Wars, or at least about the prequels at the time, to think that I was, you know, a devil worshiper or something. They didn't pay attention to this logo here. They paid much more attention to the ba-ba-ba on the back with Darth Maul. Now this isn't really what this visual showcase is all about. However, it brings to mind, sort of, tangentially, the type of topic that we want to deal with here, and that is Star Wars life-sized items. Star Wars items that we can carry around in our scale. You see, when I was a kid, I used to play a lot with the Star Wars action figures. And with the Star Wars action figures, like say this vintage Darth Vader right here, what you would often have is these lightsabers sort of built into their arms. So if you wanted to play with a lightsaber, as my cat is meowing, if you wanted to play with a lightsaber, it'd be go in and out of the character's arm. Then, of course, as it moved on to Hasbro many, many years later, you had more elaborate figures. I love this one with the removable helmet Anakin/Vader underneath. And yes, he has eyebrows, so this must be before the DVDs came out. But in this case, all of your lightsabers were essentially just little ones you'd stick in their hands and that was it. They didn't extend, they didn't retract, they were just sort of there. But when you're playing with lightsabers as a kid, this is usually what you wind up having. Just little toy lightsabers with action figures. Of course, every so often, they would take the time to create a lightsaber that was meant for us. Probably the most common of these life-sized lightsabers are the ones that you would have found in toy stores for many, many years. This one is an example of one. I believe I showed you this in the Sounds of Star Wars review, visual showcase episode here. These were designed around the idea of giving you a lightsaber that retracts and extends and has sound effects. Although, again, the sound effects weren't all that great. As for the idea of extending it, it was simply, here we go. It telescopes out. You have your lightsaber. You can sort of hear the sounds here. Not much to them. Not a lot of movement to this one. Just kind of those smashing sounds. And you would have your lightsaber that you could play with because it was relatively cheap. It was plastic, but it was something that if it got destroyed, you could very easily replace it. You had your speaker down there at the bottom, but it doesn't exactly look like the actual lightsaber. I mean, it's crafted to look like Qui-Gon's lightsaber. It's generally in the form of Qui-Gon's lightsaber, but it's obviously not a one-to-one prop replica or anything like that. It is essentially just a kid's toy, but one that many adults played with, including taking it or trying to take it inside the premieres of The Phantom Menace across the country. In our case, they wouldn't allow it. Now, for many Star Wars fans, something like this just isn't good enough. It's not realistic enough. And carrying around this, especially to movie premieres and conventions, looks a little dorky. Because again, it's just a plastic kid's toy. No, no, no. What you need is something a little more like this. This is a Hasbro Force FX adult collectible lightsaber. This is the focus of our review this time. Now let's talk price here right off the bat, because it is somewhat important in thinking about how you're going to actually get your hands on one of these if you want to get one. The actual Force FX lightsaber retail price for the ones with the removable blades, which is the ones we're looking at here, is $129.99. We're talking about $130 bucks. On the other hand, you can get the ones without the removable blades, which I personally don't recommend. I prefer the ones with removable blades, for about $119.99, so $120. However, you can find some better deals for these things online. I got mine through Amazon.com for only about $75 bucks. But bear in mind, if you're going to order one of these online, rather than picking them up in a store, and frankly, I've seen them in odd places, like Books A Million, of all places, understand they're going to have to ship it in some way that keeps it safe. And if you order it through Amazon, which was the best deal that I could find online at the time, you're looking at a gigantic shipping container. I normally wouldn't point out how they ship items to you. This takes the cake. The shipping container for this was this box right here. Wow! It's gigantic. The box for this thing is almost bigger than my couch. The box is like the kind you would see for a television set, a big television set. If I sit it on my dining room table, it takes up almost the entire space. If I sit it up on its side, it is bigger in length and height, though not in depth, than my desk that has my desktop computer on it. It is huge. For what it's worth, the reason it is so huge is because the package itself is rather long. It's not very deep. I mean, it's what you would expect to hold a lightsaber in it. The trick to it is, in order to keep this safe, Amazon apparently thinks it's easier to stick it in a box crooked with some padding around it, and then ship it out in a gigantic box. Definitely don't want FedEx or whoever it is to leave this sitting on your doorstep. It is a huge package. But this is the type of box you're looking for, first of all. There are a lot of different variants of Star Wars prop replicas out there. Master Replicas did a huge line of them years ago. Now Hasbro's doing them. Essentially what you'll want is to find the one that has, of course, Star Wars on the end. It'll say Hasbro Signature Series. And at the end, it'll be marked as I keep saying, Adult Collectible. You'll see on the side an image of whichever lightsaber is in the package. Bear in mind, though, that you want, if you're like me, the one that says, down here at the bottom, whoever, Force FX lightsaber collectible, and here in sort of a golden color, with removable blade. There are variants of these that don't have removable blades. I would highly recommend getting the ones with the removable blades. Why? Well, that's something we're going to talk about as this review progresses. A while back, Master Replicas was producing this series of small Star Wars lightsaber props, and they looked a lot like the full-scale ones. They were just shrunk down. Very well done, very lifelike, to scale, but smaller. They looked a lot like this, and for a lot of Star Wars fans who are EU fans, who aren't real big into prop collecting, this was something that was kind of interesting. Granted, it was smaller than this, but the idea was, hey, this is kind of cool. It's a little Star Wars stand and a lightsaber prop that goes on top of it. Very sweet. A lot of Star Wars fans got those smaller ones and took them and put them on their bookshelves as little pieces almost like of garnish, like you would have with a dinner. It really is kind of a neat little collectible. But the problem with those was, A, they were fairly small, and B, there wasn't any kind of lightsaber hilt with it. They were cool, but you couldn't carry it around and have a blade to go with it. That made them a little bit iffy for some collectors. Now, a lot of Star Wars collectors out there were also into Star Wars costuming or Star Wars fan films. They didn't really care about the little stand, like someone using it on a display would. What they cared about was having a realistic lightsaber prop, in this case like Anakin's here. Didn't necessarily need to have a blade or anything. What it did need to have was something they could use to attach it to their belt.